and welcome to Crash Course Cryptozoology. My voice is failing me a little bit in the past few days, so today's video is probably going to be rather short on my part, but I hope to kind of expand the content a bit with extra interviews and such that help to provide information on this case without me necessarily needing to talk about it. Which is an interesting notion because the subject of today's video isn't exactly agreed upon to be a cryptozoological case. It's never really been agreed upon exactly what category it should fit into, although ufology tends to be the most popular candidate. The Flatwoods Monster, or the Braxton County Monster, or as it is more sometimes affectionately called, Braxy, was a creature allegedly seen by a group of locals in Braxton County, West Virginia on September 12, 1952. As the report generally went, a group of children in the neighborhood were playing outside when they witnessed what they described as a meteor-like or ball of fire-like object falling to the earth, which seemed to slow its descent behind a hillside and come to a stop on the ground in that area. The incident that followed included not only the children, but some other members of the community as well, who all claimed upon investigating the site at which this object had landed to have seen a tall, roughly humanoid creature with a sort of reflective look to it, giving it its famous green coloration, not for the actual surface of the creature, but for the reflection of the leaves on it, with two large colored eyes and a head apparatus of some kind shaped like an ace of spades. It's easy to see where this became a ufology case. What's interesting, though, is not only, of course, that it has perpetuated itself into cryptozoology as well, but that it's often thought of as this isolated incident, when in reality, although perhaps not many, there are far more recent sightings of this exact description in the same area. The sighting I would like to discuss in particular today comes from a segment of the TV show Monster Quest. It was aired, of course, on an episode of Monster Quest dealing with the Flatwoods Monster case.
Joe Smith was hunting for deer a half-mile southeast of the hilltop known as James Knob.
It was overgrown. There was a lot of weeds, and backdrop there's all of these trees.
Suddenly, the hunter noticed something strange along the tree line.
There were these three humanoid types creatures. He told me they were like a white color. The tops of their heads were like an ace of spades. He described these creatures as having the same covering. They weren't flesh. He didn't see any faces, and they were staring at him. He said they were absolutely still.
The hunter stared back, frozen with fear, his weapon forgotten.
As he was staring at them, he was telling me about the eyes. These eyes were not like eyeballs. They were like openings with eyeballs in behind them.
The description, although kind of brief, does have similarities to what was described in 1952. Perhaps what is most interesting about this is researcher Ivan Sanderson, who is often considered one of the grandfathers of cryptozoology, investigated the Flatwoods Monster case several days after it happened, and in a radio interview which took place years after it had happened, recounts that the notion of there being several such incidents was indicated from the start.
Then started asking around all over the district with a tape recorder and such, did you see the thing? And they all said, oh, that there flying saucer, ha, ha, ha. No, but we saw the meteor. Well, then we started mapping. We had a big aerial map of the whole area, and we started mapping where they, at what time they said they saw said meteor. And then we came up with one very interesting discovery. There had not been one object, there had been six.
6 different objects?
6 identical.
Identical.
But different objects. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Mm-hmm.
They were all traveling, let us say, to make it perfectly simple, from about north to south. The one on the east side was spotted all along a line by about 30, 40 people. It passed right over the Sutton airport and was then reported during that night all the way down to Alabama in a perfectly straight line, according to what newspaper and other reports we could get.
That was just one of them?
That was the most easternmost of them. They were traveling along a straight front, almost exactly 5 of our miles apart. The only time they had appeared to have deviated from that, from the reports, was when they went around a hill or a mountain. But they were keeping on a steady course from north to south, traveling not too fast. I should imagine we asked the kids, put your finger in the air and pass it from left to right. Show us how fast, how long it took to get across Flatwoods. And it took...
Well, that would be about jet speed, as you demonstrated here.
Oh, no, sir. No. Jets would go gone like that.
Depends on their altitude.
Yeah, this thing was not more than 200 foot up from where they were standing. And it took, I would say, radio time 25 seconds to pass from the hill, 45-degree angle from there to there. No, but the way they showed it, they were going pretty slowly. There was a steady speed. All right, eastern one, number 1, went straight on down, got away. Number 2 was this Flatwood one that landed. I call that a landing. Number 3 came around a hill, went over a road, and crashed into the side of a mountain. That was Gray Barker and I, and Eddie went up and investigated that. And that's where we found this peculiar stuff.
Was the ground seared at that point?
Well, if I may leave that for a moment, I'll come to it. Number 3 crashed on another mountain top on the land of 2 remarkable young men who have farmed their farm all their lives, although they are both cripples. They do it all by tractor. But they cannot farm the knolls on their upland because it's full of rocks and so on. They can't get in. So they couldn't persuade anybody to go and investigate this knoll where they had seen this one land for their eyes. That's number 4. Number 5 blew up in the sky right in front of 6 members of our National Caving Society, Cave Exploration Society, at the house of what people call the McLeans. They were sitting on the veranda after having been out on a caving expedition, and they saw this thing come around the mountains, were amazed, and it blew up right over some fields. And Mrs. Williams, one of the members who were there, told me afterwards with complete innocence that a lot of kind of ashes shot out of it and scattered all over the land. I said to him, and you're supposed to be a geologist, and you didn't even go to pick up some? And number six missed and went right on and was seen all the way down in a parallel line to Alabama almost as well. So 1 went on, 2 landed, 3 crashed into this mountain top, 4 crashed into a mountain top, 5 blew up in the air, and 6 got away. There's some very good reasons for that. Now,
Of course, none of what has been outlined here necessarily proves anything one way or the other. It clarifies a bit of details, gives some food for thought. It doesn't necessarily answer what exactly happened, whether or not some individuals are telling the truth versus perhaps not. And, of course, the wider question, why this is being considered a cryptozoological case, as that's a very broad and almost philosophical, really, phenomenon. It's a little-known report, though, and in that alone, it is quite interesting. That being said, until next time.